All right, David. So last week we opened the show talking about Sweden. We're just going to move a little bit to the south.
Is that how that works?
Yeah, we're just going to keep moving south. Eventually, we're going to end up back north. We're going to go so far south, we go north. This is how.
Kyrie Irving begs to disagree.
The Earth is it's round. I know. Contrary to popular belief, sorry, Kyrie Irving, we do have a round Earth. Germany. Okay, so apparently over the weekend, two elderly Germans who were staying at a nursing home found their way to the, and I'm going to be very careful with this pronunciation.
As you should.
The Wacken open air heavy metal festival. It's apparently one of, if not the biggest heavy metal festivals in the world. It's like a four day ordeal. And so apparently the German nursing home staff contacted the police Friday after they noticed that these two elderly German residents were not in their room, were missing from the center. And a lot of people are kind of making fun of this or saying like, oh yeah, they were there to rock out, they're metalheads. The police found them at 3 a.m., disoriented and dazed. I don't think they were there rocking out.
Well, maybe they were dazed and disoriented from the hardcore rockin'.
Yeah, I think they are super old people.
That makes sense.
And they happen to live next door to the biggest heavy metal festival in the world.
No, they traveled like 25 miles to get there.
I assume the sound made it that far. They could not go to sleep, David. And like any good old man who's ever kicked a kid off his lawn, they had to find the source of the disturbance. So they went to the festival, confronted 75,000 young men,
sure,
told them to get off their lawn,
yeah,
but became entranced by the dulcet sounds of Judas Priest, Danzig, Running Wild, Eskimo Callboy.
Sorry, say that last one again?
Eskimo Callboy?
I thought that's what you said. Dude, they rock so hard.
Oh, you haven't lived if you haven't heard some Eskimo Callboy.
Dude, their last album was awesome.
Here's some Eskimo Callboy to play us in.
I don't think we can get that.
Oh, we don't have the rights to that.
We don't.
This is Subjectively Correct Sports, the only podcast in the known universe. The only podcast in the known universe featuring a couple of guys, me and David, talking about sports and sometimes other stuff like old German people and how the Earth is not flat.
And Swedish jewels.
They haven't found them yet, David.
They're still lost?
The Swedish jewels are still at large.
So we were making fun of these guys for getting away on a little motorboat, but apparently they're better than we thought they were.
If you have any tips, if you have any leads on the Swedish jewels, please contact me and David.
And how would they do that, Anthony?
Oh, yeah. So you can find the show on iTunes, Google Play, YouTube. Our one YouTube listener, our one holdout who's still listening to things on YouTube, we appreciate it. We love it. We love you.
Yeah, much love to the YouTube listener.
But in addition to that, maybe just make your way over to iTunes. Subscribe, leave a 5-star review. That would really help us out. We'd really appreciate it. And if you'd like to get in contact with us, you can visit our website. www, that stands for World Wide Web.
What?
Yeah. I left out the http://.
Well, why? Some people might be confused about that.
Because I don't
Start over.
I don't know what those letters stand for.
Hyper something. Start over.
http:// and those are the forward slashes, I believe. No one really knows the direction. www.subjectivelycorrect.com, and that's subjectivelycorrect. Subjectivelycorrect.com. Follow us also on Twitter at subcorrect. subcorrect. There's going to be a quiz at the end of the show. And you can also email us subjectivelycorrect@gmail.com.
And really easy, if you just want to go to our website, there's an email link at the bottom. Just click on that. Send us a message of a news story you found interesting or funny that you want us to talk about or you want our opinions on. We'll shout you out on the next podcast if we choose your story.
Yeah, and maybe we'll send you a gift like a Maserati or a Tesla. or a sticker.
I don't think Tesla's a good... Let's not go near Tesla right now.
Are they not doing so well?
Well, apparently Elon Musk, who is crushing it lately, by the way, he talks about going private with the company.
Yeah.
And so all trading has been suspended on Tesla. They don't know what they're going to do with it. And so, I don't know. He tried to bring a submarine to help the kids stuck in the cave.
Yeah.
But they didn't use it. But he was there.
Okay. So bad investment, super cool company.
Yeah, I mean, cars that run on electricity, that's... Yeah.
Yeah.
We still don't have the Back to the Future hoverboards, though.
That's true. Yeah, someday. So David, we're in the middle of the... getting towards the end of the summer.
Yep.
There's just like not a whole lot going on in sports.
No, in fact, we're 6 minutes in, and we haven't talked about sports yet, and it still doesn't feel wrong. So,
and I don't think we're going to for just another few minutes. I just wanted to see how your summer was going. You're a school teacher. You're getting ready for the school year to begin. How are these last couple weeks of freedom going to play out for you?
Well, I'm hoping a lot of sleep.
Yeah.
Just because I'm not going to sleep much once the school year starts. To bed early. Wake up early. Well, really, to bed late, wake up early is how that usually goes.
Yeah.
But I've had some trainings.
Okay.
And one day, I think you'll like this story. One day, let me start this way. My wife bought a new mouthwash, right? And how does mouthwash usually go? Mouthwash goes brush teeth, mouthwash, you're out, right? This is reversed, though. It's a pre-brush mouthwash that's supposed to loosen up plaque and get your teeth ready to be cleaned.
A pre-brush wash?
Tell me about it.
Say that 5 times fast.
I will not.
Okay.
So, you guys at home can do it. We'll give you a second to do it at home. I could have added music there.
Okay.
Well, so... in the morning, I'm kind of tired. I'm rushing to get to this training that starts at 8 in the morning because, we're teachers on summer vacation, so we want to wake up at 6:30, So I do the mouthwash, and then I head out the door, and I realize as I'm driving, I was like, I forgot to brush.
You did the pre-wash, and you forgot to brush.
Yes.
Okay.
So, but I'm like, okay, I don't want to turn back around. By the time I realized it, I was like, I might be late. But traffic was good, so I'm like, I'll just risk it. I'll go, and I'll stop at a gas station and buy a toothbrush, toothpaste, and I'll brush my teeth there, right? So I drive to work. I'm doing well, right? I get there at good time. So I get to Irving, where I teach.
Nothing screams dental hygiene like gas station in Irving, Texas.
Just wait.
Okay.
So I get into Irving, and I get into a gas station. It wasn't the best gas station, but it was on the way. It was right off the road, so I had to stop, right? And I was like, do I want to go in? I'm like, look at my clock, and I'm like, yeah, I do. So I go in, and I get a toothbrush, I get toothpaste, right? I'm ready to roll. Extra firm toothbrush, by the way. My gums still haven't forgiven me. But anyway, so I go over to get a little snack, because I want something to munch on during these meetings, because, 8 hours of a training is a long time to be sitting down. So I want to get some M&Ms. I found some white chocolate M&Ms.
Okay.
I like white chocolates. I'll give these a try. So
it's a really good story.
Yeah, it's getting better by the minute. So the box of M&Ms, the white chocolate M&Ms, there's a bunch of M&Ms in there already. And I'm like, oh no, so it must have broken it. Package must have ripped open or something. So I grab another package, and I'm going to go tell the guy, okay, there's a mess in there. Yeah. As I'm walking away, M&Ms fall out of my package onto the floor.
What?
I'm like, oh no. So I'm going to take it up to him and show him what's going on, and I grab another one. So I take him up there, and it's like, hey, there's a mess in there. I have found this one that ripped open too. I'll just buy these, just trying to let him know, be a good guy, right?
Yeah.
So I'm buying my toothbrush, toothpaste, and my M&Ms.
Yeah.
Because, of course.
Yeah.
And as he's ringing it up, M&Ms fall out of that package that
What?
I gave him. And I'm like, what's going on with these M&Ms? Where am I? And so he just looks at him all weird and he's like, oh, that's strange. And he's like, oh, what's going on? And so instead of just solving the problem quickly for me, just give me my toothbrush and toothpaste so I can go, he wanders over to the M&M thing and I'm like, oh yeah. So it became a little thing for us to figure this out. So he grabs another one, he starts walking away, and the M&Ms fall out of that one.
I feel like you're just making this up
I'm
at this
not.
point.
And so
M&Ms are falling from the sky.
Well, from the packages. Are you listening?
Yes.
Okay, so for the last 10 minutes you've been listening. Okay, so I grab it. He grabs a package that looks solid enough, and I pay for it. And I'm like, okay, cool. And I go back and I brush my teeth in the little tiny gross bathroom, right? Brush my teeth. My gums haven't forgiven me. And as I'm walking out of the store, feeling fresh and clean, and on my way to this training, I see the guy putting M&Ms back into the packages and stapling them shut.
Oh.
And I'm like, I don't know what's going to happen to those M&Ms after I leave, but I don't have time to find out. So I got out of there and I went to my training.
Unrelatedly, I got a staple in my M&M package. What are the odds?
Well, they're not good. Ooh, one more thing before we get going. So I was in Nevada, right? My mother-in-law gave me this box. I didn't want this box. I thought I'd give it to you.
Okay, I'm looking at a shoebox.
Yes, a Mizuno shoebox.
A Mizuno shoebox full of, looks like 1990 basketball cards.
Right. I thought you'd love this.
Oh, yeah. A Danny Ferry?
That's right. Check it out. Flip over the backside. See what it says about Danny Ferry.
Played in Italy during the 89-90 season.
Nice,
awesome.
right?
No stats.
Nice, right? Yeah. Well, Italy didn't keep track of stats back then. There's some good ones in there.
Scottie Pippen.
Yeah, there's a Gary Payton in there. There's some other stuff. I think there's some Lakers stuff in there. So I figured, you used to collect basketball cards and baseball cards, right? So I figured you'd like some of these old cards in here. There's a Doc Rivers from his playing days. There's a Phil Jackson coach card in there. But anyway, yeah, some stuff I thought you would like.
I am so excited to go through this. Okay.
You not excited?
Thanks, David.
You don't sound excited.
No, I'm super excited.
Cool.
Yeah.
What'd you give me?
This is subjectively correct. Oh, yeah, I already did that part.
You did that.
I did that part. Okay, so I wanted to start off the show, David. And by starting off the show, I mean 11 minutes in.
Nice segue.
Yeah. Talking about the most powerful man in the world and Donald Trump. So, LeBron James and Donald Trump have had a little spat this week. Okay, so here's what happened. LeBron James, last week we talked about how he opened up his school. Super feel-good story. Worked with the community to open a school for youth that are growing up in the area he grew up in and facing a lot of the same challenges that he did. You couldn't say enough good things about that. Well, he was on CNN being interviewed by Don Lemon. Both LeBron and Don Lemon are black, and that may matter, that may not, but it's probably good to know for the context of the story.
It is important for the context, for sure.
And so the question of Donald Trump came up, and LeBron was asked, if Donald Trump were here right now, what would you say to him? And LeBron responded with, I wouldn't sit across from him. And he went on to explain, this is a quote, he said, we're in a position right now in America where this whole race thing is taking over. One, because I believe our president is trying to divide us. He's dividing us. And what I've noticed over the last few months is that he's kind of used sport to kind of divide us. Okay. So that's whatever. That's his opinion of the president, that he's obviously not a fan of him, and he thinks that the president is using sports to further divide the country, and I don't think it's too far a leap to you can think about the
anthem protests,
in the NFL, and how from time to time the president will tweet about different issues in sports when it benefits him or his agenda. Okay. I'm not going to really make a comment on that. This isn't a politics show, although sports is becoming more and more intertwined in politics.
Especially as more and more of these star athletes gain a voice and realize we have a platform and so many people listen to them. I mean, just look at social media followers.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So many people listen to them. This is going to start happening more and more.
Yeah. And so the president apparently watched this or got word of this interview, and he tweeted with the following. Should I try and do a Donald Trump impression?
Oh, please.
I've never practiced this before. I don't think I've ever done a Donald Trump impression. Here we go. LeBron James was just interviewed by the dumbest man on television. You should see my hands right now.
It's perfect.
Don Lemon. He made LeBron look smart, which isn't easy to do. I like Mike.
Sticks to dismount with I like Mike.
I really feel like you needed to see. That was more of a physical impression as opposed to a vocal impression.
Yeah, the vocal impression won't be good, but I'm in here giggling. I'm giggling because that was great.
So, in one tweet, he says he thinks Don Lemon is the dumbest person on television, and he made LeBron James look smart, which isn't easy to do. So he insulted the intelligence of both Don Lemon and LeBron James, and then he followed it up with saying how he liked Michael Jordan. What? Okay. You can probably find things to fault LeBron James for. His biggest misstep in his professional career was announcing his decision to leave the Cleveland Cavaliers the first time on TV which ended up raising $5 million
Something like that. I was about to jump in with that. Yeah.
For the Boys and Girls Club
Yeah.
of whatever, Connecticut or wherever he did it.
So his biggest public mistake was raising money for charity.
Yeah, and so there were things wrong with that. I think the way it was delivered and maybe there was he could have been a little more gracious towards the Cleveland fans. Anyways, who cares about that? That doesn't really matter. His biggest misstep is not a misstep, and if it is, it's minimal.
Especially in context, because now players like Paul George are having whole docu-series about their decisions.
Yeah.
And we don't even, we just go, huh, at that, oh, no big deal.
Yeah. And so, LeBron, he's not quiet about his politics. He likes Barack Obama. I think he was a Hillary supporter in this last election. That's fine. Players have their opinions, and just like any one of us, they're entitled to those opinions.
And I think it's interesting to note that athletes protesting has been going on for a long time.
Yeah.
For a long time. I mean, back to 1968, when you had the Olympians raising their fist for equality, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Muhammad Ali was, he refused to go to war based off his beliefs, and he was protesting. I mean, protests in sports have been going on for a long time. I mean, we act like this is a new thing that's been going on since Colin Kaepernick took a knee. No, it's been going on for a lot longer than that.
Yeah, I think the newer phenomenon is that these players have a way to reach millions of people in an instant through social media.
Yeah.
So that's the new wrinkle in this. But you're right. Yeah. Professional athletes taking a political stand, whether it be for social justice or other issues, it's been happening for decades. And, after the president tweeted out his... After he sent his tweet, basically everyone started backing LeBron. I mean, other athletes, other politicians, other Republicans.
The president's wife.
Melania, Ivanka, Jared, Mike Pence, the vice president, I think. The ghost of Abraham Lincoln.
20 tweets ago.
All the elephants.
That was a Gettysburg joke, Anthony.
Oh.
Probably not best to... I should have said the Gettysburg Address joke, because actual Gettysburg, I probably shouldn't tease or make fun of that at all.
Too soon, David. So everyone was coming to LeBron's side. LeBron, I mean, he had won the public opinion, but here's my and I don't think what he did was what he said was necessarily bad or wrong, but I do find a little bit, and not blame's not the right word. I don't think anyone can say anything that would merit a response from the president of the United States like that. But I do think that LeBron missed an opportunity. When Don Lemon said, "What would you say to him if he were sitting across from you?" and he responded that he wouldn't sit across from that man. I do think he missed an opportunity to say what he would really say. Right? If you were really presented with the opportunity to sit across from the President of the United States and you have a legitimate beef with him, you think he's really doing things that are detrimental to this country, is the correct response to say, no, I would not engage him? Or would it be to engage him, to air your grievances, and to make him respond to you? So... If you are going to find fault with what LeBron James did, I think it's that there is so much dividing the country to say that you wouldn't even give someone, no matter how much you disagree with them, the time of day, that you wouldn't engage with them, that you wouldn't discuss issues with them. I think that's the wrong approach. I think what we need more of is professional athletes, celebrities, church leaders, community leaders, engaging in civil discourse, right? And showing, no matter your views on the president, I think it's fair to say that he can be somewhat bombastic and somewhat uncivil in his discourse. And so if you're on the opposite end of the political spectrum from him, I think the most damage you could do is to sit down with him and contrast his style with a very calm, reasoned, benevolent approach.
No, I see 100% what you're saying, and that makes sense, because sitting with him and showing people no, look how intelligent and look how calm and look how reasoned all my arguments are. I agree with that. But what does it say about LeBron, and I think LeBron's community, whether that's fellow athletes, African Americans, whatever, what does it say about their attitude towards this man if they won't even entertain the idea of sitting down with him? LeBron's a smart guy. He's very calculated. He's very, very calculated, to the point where we feel like he's pulling the strings in the NBA. Like, we feel like everything happening in the NBA this last free agency season was all, like, orbiting LeBron and his machinations, what he was doing. He's very calculating. And I feel like if he honestly felt like sitting down with the president would benefit him or the people and the causes that he cares about, he would say, yeah, this is what I would say to him. I wish I could talk to him so we could talk about this. But he feels like the situation is so far gone that he won't even entertain the idea of sitting with him. So while I see your side and saying, like, no, you're missing an opportunity. Who's going to say no to sitting down with the president? Well, whole teams are doing it now. Whole teams are refusing to go to the White House, just to give an idea of the environment around this president and athletes right now. And politics in general, I think.
And I just think that's the wrong approach. I think you can fight fire with fire, but you just end up with more fire. So, I think everyone needs to take a deep breath, right? And if we could just talk a little more and, not care so much about the burn or the shade or whatever the phrase of the day is for
the kids are saying shade now, so shade would be appropriate.
Shade, okay. If we cared less about that and more about what we can do to actually come together to heal, right? And I don't know. In my daily life, I don't really feel like the nation's like at war or divided, but I don't live in those communities and I don't have the background, I guess. So, I'm not the one, I guess, to really speak on it. And I guess the other thing on this topic, and just to wrap it up here, there's a quote attributed to Michael Jordan, whether he said it or not is a matter of debate. But when asked why he wouldn't back a Democratic candidate, and this was like in the early 90s, his response was reportedly, Republicans buy sneakers too. And it's just interesting to see. We talked about how there have always been protests. It feels like the amount of political discourse coming from athletes, though, has intensified recently. And you contrast the approach attributed to Michael Jordan, basically saying, Republicans are my customer base too. Why would I say anything that might drive them away, that might turn them off from buying my product, buying my sneakers, supporting me, to athletes like Colin Kaepernick basically giving up their livelihoods for a particular issue.
I just listen. Everyone just listen, right? If someone is saying something that they really feel is important, just listen. So I think Trump should listen to LeBron, LeBron should listen to Trump, and everyone should just listen. And I think that would solve a lot of problems.
But mostly, I think everyone just needs to listen to Subjectively Correct Sports podcast.
Absolutely. That was a little implication there.
Yeah.
Listen.
Listen.
So, listen.
So another interesting thing that happened over the weekend, we had the NFL Hall of Fame induction.
And notice that we're not talking about the NFL Hall of Fame game, right? That first preseason game, which is always a hot mess.
Was there a game?
Well, yeah, you didn't know that. So before the Hall of Fame ceremony, there's always the Hall of Fame game, right?
Yeah.
And, Lamar Jackson, I think, played a little bit or something. And Robert Griffin III has been pounding some beefcake. and he's beefed up a little bit. But, yeah, Joe Flacco, I hope he's not the quarterback long there because he's not that good.
Is he elite? You remember that conversation for like 5 years ago?
Yeah, his defense was elite. Anyway, Hall of Fame, go.
All right, you know whose defense is awesome?
Who?
Johnny Manziel.
Oh my God!
Did you see?
Are you saying he's really good for the other team's defense?
That's right.
He's the best player on the other team's defense.
That's right. His first pass in the Canadian Football League was an interception.
He turned it around after that, though, right?
Yeah, with 3 more interceptions.
There you go.
in the first half.
Did you see you sent me the videos of the coach, like his coach getting caught in his like wire?
Yeah.
His headset wire. That was great. And you were like, of course, this is Johnny Manziel's coach.
That's right.
So anyway, the Hall of Fame.
The Hall of Fame. So Ray Lewis spoke for 33 minutes.
Let me tell you something. Right now.
And that was basically the essence of the speech.
That's right.
It was all emotion, just kind of like how Ray Lewis played. You weren't sure if he was inspiring you to go make a tackle or calling you to repentance?
One knee is for protest. Two knees are for Jesus. That's one of my favorite quotes ever.
So yeah, he spoke for 33 minutes, and there was one point where he said he I can't even remember why he was saying it, but he said he like kissed his kids on the mouth.
That was so great. The kids' reaction to that.
There's four of his kids are the honest. He says he kissed them on the mouth, and it pans to each of them. And each of them is just shaking their head no.
And I think the oldest was like, not happening.
Yep,
not happening, not happening. He said it like 4 times.
Yeah,
it was great. So I do respect. I listened to a TED Talk by Ray Lewis.
Yeah,
which was basically the same thing as his Hall of Fame speech, and he went through a lot of rough stuff growing up, man, and. So I appreciated that TED Talk, and he talked about pain and overcoming pain and stuff, and I think he talked a little bit about that in his Hall of Fame speech too. But yeah, he's fire and fury for sure. And I think I had the over, but the over was set at 40 minutes, so I lost the bet.
Yeah.
So that's
well, and you know, maybe the most interesting Hall of Fame speech wasn't one that happened in Canton, Ohio, which is the site of the NFL Hall of Fame, but it was one that happened in Chattanooga, Tennessee.
Of course.
So Terrell Owens was also inducted into the NFL Hall of Fame, but he chose to forego the festivities in Canton, Ohio, and to have a smaller ceremony in Chattanooga, Tennessee. He played his college football for UT Chattanooga and UT Tennessee Chattanooga, whatever in Chattanooga, and.
You think I know Chattanooga's Tennessee's universities off the top of my head? You're looking at me like, Dave, help me out here. I was like, the internet can't help you on that. What do you think I'm going to
do? Google has no answers for me.
Just came back with a big question mark on the screen. I'm like, I've never seen this before.
So Ray Lewis spoke for 33 minutes. T.O. spoke for 40 minutes. And a good portion of that ceremony was to explain why he was doing this speech in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and not in Canton, Ohio. The takeaway was that he did not want to participate in the Hall of Fame induction ceremony because of the negative relationship he had with the sports media. He kind of felt that from the very beginning of his career, he was always taken out of context, that he'd say something about a teammate, and it would be reported as him throwing a teammate under the bus. And he didn't really censor himself, and so he gave really good quotes, and sports writers ran with those quotes, and so he felt like he was burned by the media several times or repeatedly throughout his career. And he also felt, so he's been eligible for the Hall of Fame. This was his third year being eligible for the Hall of Fame, so he went 2 years without making it. I think most people would say he's a top 10 NFL receiver. A lot of people would say he's a top 5 NFL receiver, and some people,
if I may, so
some people would even say he's maybe a top 3 or top 2.
If I may,
okay,
that's ahead, your signal to stop because I have something to say.
And some people,
bro.
Oh yeah.
If I may,
okay.
Who has the most reception yards in the history of the NFL, Anthony?
Jerry Rice. The answer to any NFL receiver question is Jerry Rice.
Yes, and who's number 3?
Maybe Tim Brown? Maybe
no.
Randy
Larry
Moss?
Fitzgerald.
Oh, Larry Fitzgerald. Okay.
Best butt in football.
Okay.
I mean, we left him out of the thighs debate because he dominates the butt debate.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I didn't know we were talking about active players, David.
No. What? No, that was different. That was thighs debate.
Okay.
Larry Fitzgerald is number 1 on the butt debate. Okay. Number 2 through 10 is the fridge.
That's the type of debate I would not want to embrace.
Okay. Yeah, no, I get you. But Terrell Owens, second most reception yards in the history of the NFL. Okay? What about touchdowns? Third most touchdowns in the history of the NFL. And Jerry Rice is way better than everybody with those stats. But the fact that he wasn't a first ballot Hall of Famer is ridiculous to me. If you're the third best in reception touchdowns and the second most reception yards in the NFL, why is it taking you so long to get in there? And I'm sick and tired of these Hall of Fames being these temples of saints that we're trying to put up there. Right? Some people in the Major League Baseball Hall of Fame were terrible people. Mm-hmm. You know, like Honus Wagner. I heard stories about him, one of the first Hall of Famers inducted. Terrible dude. He would spike people on purpose because of their race.
Well, when you grow up with a name like Honus, you really have to embrace the villain.
You kind of do. Honus Wagner does sound like a Captain America villain. Like someone he runs into during World War II.
I blame his parents.
And the naming?
Yeah.
That's what it is. But we need to stop looking at these Hall of Fames like judging their moral character.
Mount Pius.
Yes, Mount Pius. And just judge their play. Like Pete Rose not being in the Hall of Fame and having the most hits in baseball history.
Stupid.
Actually, Ichiro Suzuki has more hits. But anyway, that's a,
Are you counting Japanese league?
I am, a little bit. That's like, I guess it's kind of like counting minor league hits. But anyway, Pete Rose, the hit king, isn't in the Hall of Fame because he did have a gambling problem, and I get that. But that didn't affect his play.
Yeah. No, and
how did we get to baseball Hall of Fame?
I don't know. You like to steer things to baseball.
Oh my gosh, I do.
Yeah.
This is weird. I learned something about myself today. What were you talking about?
So T.O. feels like the media kept it because the media they're the ones who vote on who gets into the Hall of Fame.
Oh yeah,
right?
now I remember what we were talking about.
These sports writers vote on who gets into the Hall of Fame. So he feels like because of this kind of personal beef that he had with the sports media that he was kept out for 2 years where he should have been inducted on the first ballot. And David ran through some stats that I think would lead us to kind of back that opinion. So,
in fact, statistically, he is the second or third best wide receiver in the history of the NFL. Right?
Yeah.
So,
okay, but I'm going to take a similar take to what I just did with LeBron James. I get that he dislikes the media. But how much more powerful would it have been to tear down the media to their faces at the Hall of Fame induction ceremony and to call them out on their hypocrisy right in front of them with all the cameras there? Because what he did was did not get that much publicity. I mean, the sports centers of the world ran with it a little bit.
And I see what you're saying. I guess only the people who are always following sports and that have like ESPN, the app and stuff like that, and that follow ESPN on Twitter, those type of people, they saw what happened.
Right.
But the average Joe that just like, oh, Hall of Fame, okay, there it is on my CNN thing for 2 minutes, they didn't get it. And I see what you're saying.
Yeah, and so I think this almost plays into the narrative, of T.O. being a diva, right? Like that's the narrative that the sports writers wanted to portray, true or not. And the narrative that we keep getting is, oh, he wanted to do his own thing. He was too good for the regular induction ceremonies. He did his own thing, his own private party, whatever. But yeah, I just think it would have been really cool to see him confront them, whatever side of whatever opinion you hold, whether you're pro TO or pro sports media. I would have liked to have seen that happen face to face.
Yeah, one thing's for sure: if Terrell Owens was a basketball player, everyone would love him. He'd be like Draymond, but really, really good, like Hall of Famer. Could you imagine if Draymond Green was like a Hall of Famer and putting up second or third best ever stats? That would be T.O., and everyone would love him. I'm
just sad that Twitter wasn't around when T.O. was when T.O. started. If there would have been Twitter, SportsCenter would have written itself.
All right, Anthony. So from some heavy stuff to some more funny stuff that got weird and into baseball somehow, back into some more serious stuff. So Urban Meyer is kind of embroiled in some stuff right now, and apparently there was a domestic violence issue with one of his assistant coaches.
Oh, for our listener, explain who Urban Meyer is.
Urban Meyer, for our listener?
Yeah.
For our listener, Urban Meyer is currently the head football coach of Ohio State University, one of the biggest programs in the nation. And before that, he was a coach at Florida University. And he's one of those really big-name coaches that everybody wants to have at their program. I mean, he's Nick Saban. Who's the guy from Clemson? Dabo Swinney. He's right up there with those guys.
Jim Holt.
Put
their pants on same way we do. Okay.
I'm sorry. That was so unexpected. If you know who Lou Holtz is, that was hilarious. If you don't know who Lou Holtz was, you may have been offended by that.
It's Grandpa from The Simpsons.
Yeah. Google Lou Holtz. Oh gosh. Okay. Man, how do you do that to me? I forgot what I was saying.
Urban Meyer.
Urban Meyer. So, now I'm sad again. I went from sad to really giggly and happy, and now I'm sad again. So, he's in some trouble right now. He's on a leave of absence while they investigate a situation where one of his coaches is being accused of physical abuse against his wife.
Yeah, domestic violence.
Yeah. And apparently Urban Meyer may have known something about it but didn't report it. He didn't do it correctly. He's saying he did, but he didn't bring it up in a media day or whatever. It's really convoluted and complicated, just like all of these circumstances tend to be.
His wife definitely knew about it.
Urban Meyer's wife.
Yeah, Urban Meyer's wife. Yeah.
Yes, but it's still cloudy whether or not Urban himself knew about it. It's weird calling him just Urban.
Yeah.
But anyway, and this is all really uncomfortable for me to talk about because, like we talked about last week with the Astros signing someone who's currently suspended for domestic violence and who is under trial for domestic violence and just signing him anyway, even though they have a zero tolerance policy. Urban Meyer doesn't have the greatest past. Think about his Florida teams when he was a head coach at Florida. And I read this. This is from George Diaz from the Orlando Sentinel. He wrote, quote, "Let his resume reflect that 25 players were arrested 31 times during his 6 years as the head coach at Florida."
Wow.
So, again, number one always will be winning. Always. Those Florida teams were the Tim Tebow teams, right? So you put Tim Tebow out there and you're like, look at this angelic person who he's kneeling for all the right reasons.
In the scales of justice, I think one Tim Tebow outweighs 31 felons.
I don't know. The Mets farm system begs to disagree.
Hey, I think he was going to get called up till he got injured.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, good for him. Anyway, I would love to talk more Tim Tebow in the minor leagues with you, but
tune in next week.
Oh gosh, where we break it down. Break down Tim Tebow. His swing looks okay. I mean, for a guy who hadn't played, who was playing football.
For a bad quarterback, right. He swings the bat really well.
So, yeah, Urban Meyer. But let's not forget. Okay, so Aaron Hernandez was on that same team with Tim Tebow. Aaron Hernandez, who was later accused and convicted of murder. And winning always comes first, and that's what. I keep getting frustrated when these stories come out that it keeps shocking people that these shady things are going on when, college basketball with all that muck with Adidas and all that stuff about coaches and people taking money for shoe deals or whatever, not following NCAA rules and stuff. Of course, because winning is the number one thing. Because winning brings what, Anthony?
Money, money, money.
Winning brings money. These programs bring in so much money through their sports, and winning is the best way to bring in more of that money. Urban Meyer's job is not to teach boys to become men. It is not to teach these kids how to live. Not to teach these kids how to do good at their job or whatever. His job is to win football games, thereby making the Ohio State University, I said that wrong, the Ohio State University, more money. That's what it's been about. That's what it's always going to be about. And I'm continually surprised by people's reaction to coaches choosing winning over morality. Okay, I took a little break. I'm good now.
You good?
Yeah.
All right.
I realized after that last segment, I was like, I'm kind of angry.
I ordered David to the freezer. Stick your head in there for 3 minutes.
It felt pretty good.
Yeah. That 4th minute, though, that'll get you. So, switching gears from whatever you were talking about.
I was angry about something.
Yeah. To back to basketball, because basketball and the NBA, it's a 24 hour? No, 12 month. That's the time. That's the time unit I was going for. It's a 12-month sport now, David.
Yes, it is.
And it's 24 hours a day on NBA TV and other outlets.
Are you all right?
All right. So, not much is going on in the NBA these days. Most of the transactions have slowed down. Everyone's kind of getting in their summer workouts, doing their last vacations before training camp comes along.
Schooling little kids at their basketball camps and somehow getting attention for it. Don't get me started on that. Anyone can cross over a kid when you're an NBA player. That's like Max Scherzer going up there and striking out a Little Leaguer during the Little League World Series and being like, oh, in your face. Everyone would be like, whoa, Max Scherzer, calm down. But Victor Oladipo does it at his basketball camp and everyone giggles and laughs. Anyway, I'm done. Okay, I'm angry again. Freezer?
Yeah, Freezer.
Okay, I'll be back.
Okay. So, ESPN... oh, wow. Okay. See you, David. So ESPN put out some projections. Kevin Pelton, they're one of their basketball insiders. So you have to have a subscription to access this article. Put out some projections, win totals for the Western Conference. And I'm not going to go through all of them because that's boring. But a couple of noteworthy takes of his. One, he has the Spurs in the 10 seed. And David, how many teams make the playoffs? Oh, hey, David. Hey, David, how many teams make the playoffs?
I'm sorry. Which sport are we talking about?
Okay, we're talking about basketball.
Okay.
NBA.
8 in each conference.
8 in
and
each
there
conference.
are 2 conferences, and 8 times 2 is 16.
Okay.
Next question.
Okay. So, among the top 10 ESPN projections for the this coming season, Kevin Pelton has the Spurs in the 10th seed with 38.5 projected wins.
Okay. Now, I'm confused about this. See, gambling, it makes sense to have half wins.
Yeah.
Because that's where you're putting the line.
Right.
What is a half a win?
Well, I think there must be some model that he's running this through, because some of these are 0.6, 0.4, 0.2, 0.1.
Okay, he's using math.
He's using math.
Okay, go ahead.
He's a nerd.
Sure.
Okay. And he's getting his revenge on these athletes.
I don't get that reference.
Me either. And so he has Spurs at 38.5 wins. This is interesting because the Spurs were, I believe, the 7th seed in the West last year.
Yeah, they weren't great.
They weren't great.
They were without Kawhi.
They had Kawhi for about 9 games, and it was like mediocre Kawhi. And so they're replacing mediocre 9-game Kawhi with healthy all-star DeMar DeRozan, and they're dropping.
Right.
So that's interesting. Other noteworthy projection. The Los Angeles Lakers, perhaps you've heard of them.
His cat is named Mamba.
Yes. The Lakers are projected to win 41.2 games.
According to Pelton at ESPN.
According to Pelton at ESPN, which would have them in the 9 seed, which is outside the playoffs.
As I established earlier, using math.
Mm-hmm. So, and the rest of his top 8, the teams he thinks will make the playoffs are the teams you would think: Warriors, Jazz, Rockets, Nuggets, Timberwolves, Thunder, Pelicans, Blazers, in that order. So that's interesting. I think, if you're really into NBA, you may pay the subscription fee, you may read the story, and you may say, oh, what? How are the Spurs out of the playoffs? How are the Lakers out of the playoffs? And, you may have a fun read. On the heels of this story, Vegas came out with its projections, because if there's an opportunity to bet something, Las Vegas will allow you to do that. And so they've put out their win projections, and you can bet the over/under. So, for example, the current odds that I'm looking at have the Warriors at 62.5 wins for the season. So, if you think the Warriors are going to win more than 62.5 games, if they're going to win 63 or more, then you would bet the over, and if you're right, you'll win some money. If you think they'll win less than 62.5, 62 or fewer games, you bet the under, and if you're right, you win some money. Now, Vegas has the Lakers as the 4 seed, tied for 4th with the Jazz. They have the Spurs also out of the playoffs, actually, in the 9 seed. They have the Blazers out of the playoffs.
What does that say about DeMar DeRozan?
It says that they're not super confident that he's going to have the impact that the casual NBA fan might think he should have, right?
Well, he will kill you with mid-range jumpers.
He and LaMarcus Aldridge are gonna live 20 feet from the rim.
Oh my gosh, 50 to 20 footers all day. That shot chart is gonna be crazy. It's just gonna be like a ring at the 15 to 20 mark and nothing else. Maybe like a couple of 3-pointers in the corner, a couple of dunks, and then 15 footers. And Greg Popovich, I think, secretly wants to play that game, like deep down in his basketball soul. He's like, I've played this way. That's the way it's supposed to be played. But then he's
on the record as hating 3-pointers.
Right? Which is, they're worth more and they're more efficient.
Yeah.
Anyway, we won't get into that because that's more nerd talk.
Yeah. And, okay, like I said before, these win projections are boring. They don't mean anything. They're fake news, okay? But what's interesting is how different the ESPN projections are versus the Vegas projections.
Now, I like what you said about this. This is interesting because both ESPN and Kevin Pelton and Vegas are in the business of, like we talked about earlier, making money, right?
Yeah.
But they have different approaches. So tell them about that. Yeah.
So Vegas, they want to be as close to right as possible so that they can entice you to make a bet that you think you have a good shot at winning. They're going to set these lines in some ways higher than what should be, and they're going to set some lower than what they should be to entice you to make bets that are in their favor, right? And so as more people bet a certain way, the lines are going to shift. It doesn't really matter. All that matters here is that Vegas sets the lines pretty close to where they think the teams are going to end up, so that they get a good number of people on either side of the bet, right? And when one side of the bet starts to when more people start to bet on the over, for example, they're going to move the line up just a little bit to cover themselves. So all they care about is more people placing bets. ESPN, all they care about are more clicks, right? They want people visiting the website, reading the stories, and they want the eyeball so that they can tell their ad partners, so many people are visiting and so many people are spending this much time on the site, so we can charge you this much more for your ads. And to get eyeballs, you're not going to go with the reasonable take all the time.
Of course not. I mean, Skip Bayless and Stephen A. Smith are the further evidence of that, right? You're not going to say the reasonable thing. You're going to say the outlandish thing. You're going to say it loud.
Yeah.
And I think having the Spurs out of the playoffs for the first time in forever, I think that's a good way to draw some eyeballs. Saying that the Lakers aren't going to be in the playoffs with LeBron, that's going to draw some eyeballs. You know what I mean? Saying that the Jazz are going to be second place in the West, that's going to draw some eyeballs. So, yeah.
Yeah, so this hot take, embrace debate culture is sometimes leading to uninformed or ignorant sports takes, unfortunately. And I don't think you can find, if you polled, the vast array of NBA experts, very few would say that the Spurs and Lakers would both miss the playoffs. And so the fact that the ESPN Basketball Insider has both of them missing, to me, it just screams clickbait. To me, it just screams we need people subscribing to NBA Insider so that they can find the justification for why these two teams aren't making the playoffs. And so back to David's earlier point, it's all about money, and it's not really educating fans.
Can we be done talking about this now?
Yeah, we can be done.
Thank you. Anthony, I want you to think about the last time you used the bathroom.
Okay.
Thinking about it?
Got it.
Listeners, are you thinking about it? Are you thinking about the last time you used the bathroom?
Listener.
Sorry. Did I make it plural again?
You did.
Listener, think about the last time you used the bathroom. Now I'm going to say some words, and I want you to think whether or not you would describe your last experience in the bathroom as these words. A party. A fiesta. A hoopla. A hullabaloo. A rave. Now, did any of those words describe your latest bathroom experience, Anthony?
Most definitely.
Wow, we have very different bathroom experiences. But in this last week in England, there was a music festival. Okay? And music festival, kind of the theme of the show today, except for everything in the middle.
Except for the unimportant stuff.
Yeah, we talked about domestic violence and politics and stuff. Anyway, so you walk up to this bank of porta potties at this, portaloos, as they would say over across the pond. And you'd go to the portaloo, and you'd open the door at this music festival, and you would walk in, and there would be a rave going on, a la Narnia. Like, you go into this porta potty, and it opens you up into this magical party land where music's pumping and people are dancing and stuff. And the videos of this are just tremendous because they're people waiting outside the porta potties, but they don't look like they're doing potty dances or anything. And then a guy opens the door to the porta potty and there's light shows and lasers and people dancing and stuff. And that's awesome. It's like the Narnia of raves, except you don't go into through a lovely wooden cabinet, but you go in through a toilet, which is okay.
I can't believe someone actually videoed this and ruined it.
Right?
They ruined the secret. What's the first rule of Porta Potty Rave? You do
Don't
not talk about
Porta Potty Rave.
What's the second rule of Porta Potty Rave? You did not talk about Porta Potty Rave.